Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you are fine. In our lecture today, we will discuss chapters 13 to 14 in Wuthering Heights, a novel by Emily Bronte. Okay, and regarding to chapter 13, this chapter of Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte will include the summary of the chapter that contains Catherine's pregnancy, Isabella's letter, and Isabella's visit to Wuthering Heights, along with the commentary of chapter 13 that contains Catherine's hopelessness and Edgar's nursing to Catherine, and Heathcliff from Isabella's perspective. And the main characters in chapter 13, however, are Edgar, Isabella, Catherine, Heathcliff, Harrison, and Nellie. The setting, places, Wuthering Heights and Thrushcross Grange, time before 1801. Well, moving on to the summary of chapter 13. Actually, the summary of chapter 13 includes three important points. The first point is about Catherine's pregnancy. As a matter of fact, Edgar nurses Catherine for the next 2 months, and during this time it is revealed that Catherine is pregnant. On his part, Edgar longs for a male heir to prevent Heathcliff and Isabella from inheriting the Grange, as we have previously said. The second important point is Isabella's letter. 6 weeks after she runs away, Isabella sends a letter to Edgar announcing her marriage and begging forgiveness. However, he does not reply. After that, a distraught Isabella sends a letter to Nellie, questioning the humanity of Heathcliff. She tells Nellie that they are living at Wuthering Heights and begs for a visit. The letter goes on to tell of her experiences at Wuthering Heights. The last point in the summary of chapter 13 is about Isabella's visit to Wuthering Heights. So Isabella encounters Harriton, Joseph, and Hindley. All are rude and uncaring. She realizes her mistake, but also knows that it's too late. She cannot even find a place to sleep that is her own. And when Heathcliff returns, he tells her that Catherine is sick, that he blames Edgar, and that he plans on making her suffer in a place of Edgar. Now, after giving a brief summary to chapter 13, we will move on to the commentary of the chapter. In chapter 13, there are two important points. The first point is about Catherine's hopelessness and Edgar's nursing to Catherine. So, regarding to Catherine's hopelessness, during death, Catherine knows the next time she goes to the moors will be her last. She even doesn't allow Edgar to comfort either her or himself with a false sense of hope or security. So Edgar now is nursing Catherine. However, the important question here is that, is he doing this out of love for his wife or the child she is bearing? Edgar thinks that without her, Isabella would inherit Thrushcross Grange, in the event of Edgar's death. And because Isabella is married to Heathcliff, that means Edgar's rival would essentially inherit Edgar's property. And for sure, Edgar does not want this to happen. So Edgar's nursing to Catherine is somehow questionable. The second important point in the commentary of chapter 13 is about Heathcliff from Isabella's perspective. So, how is Heathcliff seen through Isabella's eyes? Well, while Edgar is nursing Catherine, readers get a view of Heathcliff from Isabella's perspective. So, Isabella's letter to Nellie narrates the events that have transpired from the time she eloped. And Isabella questions if Heathcliff is really a man and suggests that he may be incarnate evil. She realizes marrying him was a mistake, so she regrets her marriage from Heathcliff, but also realizes that she cannot atone for her error. On the other side, Isabella reveals that Heathcliff blames Edgar for Catherine's suffering, and he will take this out on her too. Actually, Heathcliff may or may not be the devil, but he is making Isabella's life a living hell. Moving on to chapter 14. In this chapter of Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte, we will discuss the summary of the chapter and the commentary that includes Heathcliff's love for Catherine and Heathcliff's relationship to both Catherine and Isabella. The main characters in chapter 14, on the other hand, are Edgar, Isabella, Catherine, Heathcliff, and Nellie. The setting, place, Wuthering Heights, and Thrushcross Grange. Time, many years before 1801. Now, what about the summary of chapter? Well, in the summary of chapter 14, Edgar refuses to forgive Isabella and says nothing with Nellie when Nellie visits Wuthering Heights. Heathcliff is eager to hear news of Catherine's situation and demands that Nellie arrange a meeting between the two. Nellie refuses, but her refusal promotes Heathcliff to force Nellie to stay at Wuthering Heights, claiming he will go alone. So Nellie fears what might happen if that were to occur and begrudgingly agrees to his request to carry a letter to Catherine. Now, after this brief summary of chapter 14, we will move on to the commentary of the chapter. Also, in the commentary of chapter 14, we have two important points. The first one is about Heathcliff's love for Catherine. So, of particular importance in this chapter is Heathcliff's declaration and explanation of his love for Catherine. Heathcliff tells Nellie, for every thought she, that is to say Catherine, spends on Linton, she spends 1,000 on me. If he, that is to say Edgar, loved with all the powers of his puny being, he couldn't love as much in 80 years as I could in a day. So the passion and commitment Heathcliff reveals frightens Nellie and is partially the reason he is able to persuade her to carry a letter to Catherine. On the other hand, the second point in the commentary of chapter 14 is about Heathcliff's relationship to both Catherine and Isabella. As Heathcliff discusses his relationship to both Catherine and Isabella, he appears to be true to himself. And this reveals Heathcliff's characteristics. He recognizes that he is brutal and cruel. He is, however, also intelligent and manipulative, which is how he is able to con Nellie into agreeing to do his bidding. And that was all about chapter 14 in Wuthering Heights. Also, that was the end of our lecture today. For further reading, please refer to these references. Next lecture, I will go on with chapter 15 and 16 in Wuthering Heights. Thank you very much for your time and good luck.